In Indian political transitions, Karnataka carries massive weight. A leadership change here is a direct battle for a high-stakes piece of the national chessboard. To understand why, you have to look at the state's economic engine. This region anchors the country's multi-billion-dollar IT sector, drives massive tax revenues, and serves as a heavy contributor to the national GDP. Controlling those immense resources requires controlling the legislature. The Vidhana Sautha represents the institutional muscle required to direct that wealth, making it one of the most fiercely contested buildings in the country. Right now, the state is preparing for a highly calculated shift in leadership. D.K. Shivakumar is orchestrating his elevation to the office of Chief Minister. Whoever commands this specific office controls a financial and political engine capable of dictating national policy. Public elections offer a clean mechanical process. A voter drops a ballot, a tally is made, and a winner is declared. A midterm, internal party succession operates on entirely different, highly volatile rules. Shifting executive control halfway through a term carries immense risk. The moment a sitting leader is asked to step aside, the ruling coalition faces the threat of alienated loyalists, emboldened rival factions, and total legislative collapse. Navigating this requires meticulous political choreography. Every bruised ego must be managed, and every competing interest balanced, turning the transfer of power into a high-wire act where a single misstep fractures the government. The stage is set for Shivakumar because a highly specific, largely invisible formula was executed to neutralize those systemic threats long before they could surface. In Indian state politics, there is a very specific archetype, the troubleshooter. These are the backstage operators who manage crises, corral dissenting members, and ensure the party survives when the legislative math gets tight. For years, Shivakumar has defined this role. He built his reputation by mobilizing resources, projecting organizational strength, and maintaining absolute discipline during moments of severe party vulnerability. He embedded himself deeply across demographics and factional lines. Over time, that massive network transformed from a protection tool into accumulated personal leverage. He secured his path to the top office by making himself the indispensable architect of his party's survival. To understand how he safely triggers this transition, we have to look at the power-sharing formula established when the government first formed. Competing meters were balanced against each other to secure the initial victory. The timing of this shift honors that original pact. As the state preps for the next massive election cycle, the leadership structure rotates to maximize its strategic footing. But a rotation requires compensation. Outgoing administrators and rival faction heads are offered specific portfolios, board appointments, or future guarantees to keep them tethered to the new administration. Once those backstage negotiations are locked in, the transition moves to the public phase. The official ceremony seals the negotiated settlement into constitutional reality. A successful transition is the final, highly visible phase of a brutally complex internal settlement. This brings us to the core functional challenge of the transition. How does a leader whose entire career is defined by backstage crisis management adapt to the transparent, front-facing role of executive governance? Quelling a late-night party revolt requires leverage in organizational muscle. Directing a state's economic policy, managing massive infrastructure budgets, and handling daily administrative friction requires an entirely different toolkit. Ascending to the highest office requires mastering the party machinery. Wielding that power requires mastering the state bureaucracy. Zooming out from Karnataka, this transition has immediate implications for the national political map. A stabilized, unified state leadership provides the broader party with a reliable stronghold. By neutralizing internal conflicts locally, massive political capital and financial resources are freed up. Those resources can now be projected outward to support national campaigns instead of being burned on local infighting. Winning a general election captures political supremacy. Executing flawless internal transitions is what maintains it. The true mark of systemic control is the ability to orchestrate a massive changing of the guard so flawlessly that it appears entirely inevitable.